Patrick Mahomes. Mahomie. Mahomie. Mahomes has a turf toe injury. What's turf toe? I mean, I think people have heard that term a lot, but they don't really know what it is. So turf toe is named because of injuries that started happening. Well, they probably happened before, but I think they started happening more frequently when players started playing on artificial turf. Okay, and the reason that was an issue is because that turf is it's a harder surface than playing on grass. It's more likely that cleats are going to get caught on it, and so there was an increase in these injuries. So it happens in soccer players, football players, you name it. But what the mechanism of injury is, this is the big toe, right? Okay, so what happens is the big toe is hyperflexed, so you're kind of standing like this, your toes doing this, right? And then there's axial load. Okay, so there's this kind of load an axial load on the heel of the back of the foot, right? So that also can happen in the turf when the cleats dig into the turf, and then there's a load on it, right? So what happens is at the bottom there's a tendon called the flexor hallucis longus and a couple other tendons, the abductor and the adductor hallucis, and two bones here called sesamoid bones. Those tendons are attached to the muscles, attached to the big toe, and when you pull on those tendons, when the muscles pull on those tendons, they are the things that allow the foot to flex, right? The sesamoid bones there act as pulleys, and they change the lever arm, make it much more efficient to work. So in turf toe, finally, there's also now a capsule at that joint, the metatarsophalangeal joint, right? That capsule, the capsular ligamentous structure is called the plantar plate. So in turf toe, you can imagine if this thing is hyperextended, you put an axial load on it, that is going to tear. Okay, it's going to stretch or tear if it is the worst case scenario. You can also fracture some of those sesamoid bones as well. So when that thing is just stretched, you treat that non-operatively. So you put the person in a hard shoe. In other words, a shoe that does not bend. So you're keeping that from bending because you want that thing to heal. You want that stretched capsule to heal. If it's partial tear, you want it to heal. Or they put it in a rocker bottom shoe. Again, it's something that's going to prevent that joint from moving too much, from extending. So when you walk, it does this, right? If that thing is torn, that's going to require surgery. So they have to repair that plantar plate. If the sesamoid bone is broken into, one of the sesamoid bones is broken into a bunch of pieces, sometimes they have to take it out. I don't think those people do that great because that sesamoid bone really does function as a pulley, and it changes the lever arm. Like I said, if that's gone, it's not going to be as efficient. He's going to have problems, right? Or if the sesamoid bone is just broken, they can put a screw in to hold it together and let it heal. But either way, if you have surgery, you're going to be in a cast for until that heals. So you're usually out of play for about 3 to 4 months. There's also an intermediate, so there's the partial tear. They'd put you in a cast or a walking boot and put you in there for 4 to 6 weeks or 4 to 8 weeks. At which point it's probably healed and you get back to playing. But if it's torn completely and the sesamoids may be also infected, you're going to have surgery and you're going to be out for 3 to 4 months. So it sounds like Mahomes had surgery. It may have been for that partial tear, although I think those are usually treated non-operatively. But it may have been for that partial tear. If it was for a complete tear and the sesamoids were involved, he's out of play for about 3 to 4 months. Now, how do people do after that? People usually do okay, and athletes are amazing. But if it starts to bother people, they sometimes end up fusing that. Okay. Now, the reason, going a little further into this, the reason this is so important is that the way the forces transmit across the foot, in the gait cycle is, your heel hits the ground, which is how you walk or run. Heel hits the ground. The forces are transferred from the heel across the ligaments and the plantar fascia that goes on the bottom of the foot, okay, and then into the second toe or the second metatarsal, right, out to the first metatarsal and out the big toe. Really important also when you push off. So if you obviously injure that plantar plate or tear the ligaments and tendons there, that's going to be an issue, especially with toeing off. Okay, it's going to hurt like hell. You can't really do it. If it's completely torn, it's going to require surgery. And if you're an elite, an athlete, it's going to be 3 or 4 months before you're back to playing. How long ago did this happen?
3 or 4 months.
3 or 4 months ago. So yeah, he's ready to come back. We'll see how he does.
Because they were saying that he's going to be out there, but he's not going to be participating 100%.
Yeah, they might be just waiting to see. Yeah, 3 or 4 months before it's healed, and now they might just see how he does. Yeah, because they don't. Yeah.
First steps.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, because if they have to fuse that, it's going to affect his mobility.
So theoretically, so let's say this didn't work, and they do have to fuse it. What's the recovery? Is the recovery for that also 3 months?
Yeah, because the bone has to fuse, right?
So
and I don't know how mobile is. I really don't know how mobile people are. Well, you have no mobility if you have no mobility if you fuse. You can have decreased mobility if you fuse that joint because the plantar plate was complete rupture. Just the operation failed. You're just not going to have the same biomechanics for push off.
So these next couple of weeks are big.
Yeah, this is a big deal. We'll see what happens.